The year was 2015, and the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, Jeh Johnson, sat down with his beautiful family to watch some TV. It was a peaceful moment and a much-needed family time for the U.S. official, but suddenly, out of nowhere, something frightening happened. The man and his family froze as they stared at the screen. It wasn't their favorite show playing. No, it was a scary message sprawled across the screen. I own you. The thoughts ran across the mind of the U.S. official. A terrorist must be behind this. They were under attack by a coordinated cyber squad, but little did he know how wrong he was. Unknown to him and the rest of America, the message was coming from the bedroom of a 15-year-old teenager all the way in England. He was smart, he was strategic, he had a vendetta, and he was dangerous. His name, Kane Gamble. Born on June 7, 1999 in Colville, Leicestershire, United Kingdom. It was the beginning of the digital age, and Kane was intrigued at a very young age. Growing up in the digital age, the internet and how everyone and everything was connected increased his curiosity in computers. But his fascination was limited by his own background. Born into an ordinary middle-class family, his parents tried their best to provide a stable and supportive environment for him to explore his interests, but there was only so much they could do. But Kane was so fascinated, he did all he could to delve into computers and the internet. But this is where it gets even more fascinating. Amidst all of these, he became more and more interested in politics and developed a deep hatred for injustice. When he clocked 15, he began to hear about the Israel-Palestine war and quickly took a stand. Kane not only supported Palestine, he hated the fact that the US government stood against Palestine. The polices on the Middle East made him so angry, and he wanted to do something about it. By now, he had developed skills that could allow him to manipulate the internet and bend things to his will. So from his little bedroom in Leicestershire, he concocted a disturbingly terrorizing plan. Kane knew one thing. In order to do something that mattered, he needed to hack into the databases of those who mattered, some of the top US officials who could have information that he needed to promote his cause of freeing Palestine from the policy shackles the US had put them in. So the first thing he did was set up a group called Crackers with Attitudes, and together with his newfound buddies led by Kane, they hatched a strategic plan to hack into networks of US officials and extract whatever sensitive information they could. Now this is where the story gets interesting. Over the next few months, Gamble sat in front of his simple computer in his bedroom and hacked into some of the top security officials in the US. Every laptop, mobile phone, even broadband networks and TVs became the target for Gamble. One of his victims was the director of the CIA, John Brennan. If you wanted to get your hands on national classified information, the CIA was a great place to start from, so through social engineering, Gamble got his hands on John's email password and got access into his emails, stealing several sensitive documents and files. But he didn't stop there. Just so he could get first-hand access to more information, Gamble also got his hands on an application that could grant him top security clearance. Gamble did all of these by infiltrating the personal email and iCloud accounts of CIA Director Brennan, and even gaining control over his wife's iPad just for fun. Additionally, he collected information on classified US operations in Afghanistan and Iran. After he got what he needed and played around with Central Intelligence sensitive information, he felt the security there was laughable and couldn't help but imagine how easy it was for him to perform such a hack. As a matter of fact, after hacking the director of the CIA, he took to Twitter to put out a very brazen tweet. CIA, set your game up, homies, Gamble's tweet read. But if you think this was the worst of it, think again. Gamble needed to be thorough, so he also set his sights on the FBI. He needed to hack the agency's portal, and to do that, he had to have some sort of security clearance that only the director of the FBI or the deputy director could grant. So the next step for him was easy. He hacked into the computer of the deputy director of the FBI, Mark Giuliano, and also one of the special agents, Amy Hess. Through all of these, Gamble was able to lay his hands on sensitive information that could jeopardize the US policies against Palestine, and by this time, he began to get a little brazen. He could not believe just how easy this had been for him, and he needed people to know what he had done. So he got a little cocky and posted some of the sensitive information online, causing a stir and drawing more attention to the anonymous community he had built, the Crackers with Attitude. But the next thing he did was completely astounding. Also, after hacking into the FBI network, he uploaded about 20,000 names of FBI staff, which was classified for the entire world to see, and then he captioned the post, "This is for Palestine." He also called it the biggest hack ever. To him, this was a sort of protest, a way to get back at the US government and maybe get them to reverse their policies in the Middle East and free Palestine. Now, one would think Gamble would stop there. He had made his point, and what else was there to prove? But remember, by now he had gotten a little cocky and bolder, so he decided to take his hacking spree one step further. He turned his sights to a man named James Clapper, who was the director of national intelligence. Gamble hacked into his phone and then redirected phone calls made to ex-US intelligence Clapper to the Free Palestine movement. But he did not just hack into the man's devices, he had other ideas. He made it more personal. This time, he was going to toy with their minds, emotions, and peace of mind. He was going to play mind games and make his victims scared and worried, just as he believed the Palestinians were also. He was going to hack into the network of the families of some of the US officials he targeted. He was reported to have hacked into the TV of the director of Homeland Security with a message that said, "I own you." And he also hacked into the iPad of the wife of another top official after tormenting her digitally for weeks. He sent a message across her screen that read, "Am I scaring you?" At this point, Gamble had already began to spread panic amongst family members of US officers. But on a grander scale, the effects of his hacking spree was yielding good results for him. For one, many of the American witnesses attest to a drop in confidence in the use of portals, many of the agencies withdrawing their contributions, reducing the effectiveness in the wider law enforcement community in America. Kane Gamble, in his pursuit of unauthorized access, orchestrated a sophisticated blend of hacking techniques with a primary focus on the art of social engineering. In his initial phase, Gamble delved into meticulous research about his targets, scouring publicly available information, social media profiles, and various online platforms to construct comprehensive profiles. Armed with this knowledge, he embarked on a multifaceted social engineering strategy. One key facet of his methodology involved the deployment of phishing tactics. Craftily, Gamble would fashion deceitful emails or messages tailored to trick his targets into divulging sensitive information or inadvertently engaging with malicious links. This manipulation extended to impersonation, where he assumed the guise of a trusted individual or entity, exploiting the inherent trustworthiness of these personas to further his illicit agenda. Gamble's tactics also included exploiting the vulnerability of weak passwords. By utilizing software or methods to crack or guess passwords, especially those derived from easy ascertainable information like birthdays or common words, he sought to breach security barriers. In addition, he identified and exploited weaknesses in the security protocols of online services used by his targets like their broadband networks, allowing him unauthorized entry. Remote access tools, such as malware, were also deployed to wrest control over the target's devices. Furthermore, Gamble utilized credentials obtained from previous data breaches to engage in credential stuffing, an illicit method involving the use of known usernames and passwords to gain unauthorized access to other accounts where individuals reused the same credentials. Most people use the same passwords for all of their accounts, so he exploited this fact. In all of these, what is even more impressive is the fact that Kane Gamble was of the autistic spectrum. This put into more light the actual capabilities of people with autism and how they're perceived. On February of 2017, Gamble was finally caught and sentenced to 2 years in youth detention on a 10-count charge of cyber terrorism. He pleaded guilty to 8 of them, but in the end, While some condemn his actions, others revere him as a hero, a young boy that stood for what he believed in and did something about it.